All right.
How long is the video?
2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know when you're ready. You gonna leave that chair empty?
I am.
Okay, I got
It's
you.
just you got that inclination that she will arrive. I got it. Hey everybody, we're coming on in about 1 minute. We want to pay tribute to Craig Mack, so give us a minute and then we're coming live. But we gotta pay tribute to the man, Craig Mack.
My phone going. Show you something. Okay, cool. Alright. You ain't gotta worry about this one. You sweetheart. Concentrate on this one, alright?
Say hello to our engineer.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Turn that one that way. Turn this one out there. So you know what's going on next. You ready? You ready? Alright, once you see yourself, take a deep breath and go. Back off you a little bit. Make sure you let them know why that chair empty.
Well, you know, the church, when it's empty, it's symbolic that somebody is deceased. So.
Oh, Lord.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MBG Speaks 101. I'm your girl, Lily Mae. Amber J is not in the building, but welcome back to MBG Speaks 101. This is season 3. And in season 3, our overarching theme is terrible tyranny of the majority. Terrible tyranny of the majority. So let me take you back to World History and Geography 1. So a tyrant is one of those forceful, evil, wicked rulers like Draco and so on. Okay, so I just, I had to throw it out there. But guys, seriously, welcome back. Our Motivational Brown Girls is definitely always here to first inform and then educate, thus motivating and inspiring individuals to become agents of change in their respective communities. And so I'm glad to be back. Definitely missing my co-pilot, but due to work and things of that nature, she is unable to be here. Now, if you notice that to my right there's an empty seat, to my left there's a field seat. Any of y'all that go to the old Baptist churches, y'all already know I'm telling you that when you got an empty seat, that's symbolic that somebody is deceased. Not the case. So we will fill this seat in the second half, but I want to leave it open just for the mystery. But guys, so let me just talk a little bit about how we came up with the theme for season 3, and then we will jump into what we're going to talk about. So shout out to Adam Newsom, who is definitely one of the legs of MBG, and he's in Michigan. And so I must openly and just blatantly say, Adam is a Caucasian white male who is openly homosexual. And everybody was just like, well, why is he a part of MBG? Simply because MBG is not an organization that discriminates relative to religion, race, creed, whatever, sexual orientation, whatever affiliation. Because we are an organization that strives to first inform and then educate. I can't inform and educate you on anything if I'm biased. And so I want you to understand that. And so Adam came up with this thing, the terrible tyranny of the majority, because he felt like we need to address a lot. We need to address underrepresented and unacknowledged religions. We need to address generational bias, and we need to talk about a plethora of other multicultural affairs. So, me being Lily Mae, what I decided to do was, I said, you know what, Adam, word, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it Lily Mae style. And because so many things have been going on in the world and in our community, in my personal lives, and probably in your personal lives, I think that what we're going to do with the terrible tyranny of the majority, we are going to take it and we're going to talk about generational bias all season long. You're going to get sick of hearing about generations. You're going to get sick of hearing about the traditionalists. You're going to get sick of hearing about the baby boomers, and you're going to get sick of hearing about the millennials. But guess what? Just because you don't want to hear it, that doesn't mean you don't need to hear it. And you're old enough for your wants not to hurt. That's what my mama told me. But anyway, so without further ado, let me introduce to you my special guest for this evening. Now, her name is Miss Donna Banks Tucker, and she has come aboard because, once again, generational bias. We are in 2 different generations. She is a part of baby boomer generation. Baby boomer generation. I am a millennial. And prayerfully next week, I just might bring one of my Springer babies on here if it's not too late, which we air at 9, so it's kind of late. But y'all know y'all kids stay up all night long anyway, so why not have them here doing something constructive? Because I want someone in Generation Z to sit with Amber J and myself and our other guests and talk about what's going on. Thank you for everybody that's out there tuning in to Facebook land. The call-in number is 804-915-5202. If you are watching us live, please share. But let's jump in and talk a little bit about generational bias. So I want to pose a question. Have you noticed that people of different generations respond differently to different situations? The answer is yes.
Yes.
And so I think it's important that we talk a little bit about that, and we need to talk about why that is. And it's simple, because generations are different. Times are changing. Now, the fact that times are changing, that doesn't mean that the basics are changing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't still say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That doesn't mean that you still shouldn't respect your elders. But let me tell you what my students have taught me, because I teach high school. There was a time when you automatically respected authority. Okay? Do not take what I'm saying out of context. Just listen. Listen to understand and not to respond. That time is no more. Respect is earned, yes. But the way you earn respect is by giving respect. Listen to what I'm saying. Respect is earned, comma, yes, period. The way you earn respect is by giving respect, exclamation point. Those of you who did well in English will understand. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it. When we talk about the traditionalist generation, we're thinking about those individuals who were born in the 10s, the 20s, and the 30s and 40s. My mom, my dad. You guys know I was born in the 80s, but my mother was born in the 30s and my dad was born in the late 20s. They are the traditionalist generation. And I want you to know that I'm going to give you a lot of factual information. So I have a lot of data for you this evening. But values of traditionalists are generally the following: that they conform to the status quo. Generally, they conform to the majority. They have a lot more patience. They have respect for their authority. They follow the rules. In their eyes, age equals seniority, and they are more stable. Now, some of the events that formed the thought processes and the values and belief systems of traditionalists were things like the Great Depression, World War II, the New Deal. Now, let me tell you something. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal brought on the Social Security Administration, federal labor unions, and things of all that nature. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal was great. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal was similar. It was the welfare of the traditionalist generation. Point blank, period. Now, Lyndon Baines Johnson's welfare system, that was the New Deal of the baby boomer generation. So I want to say this to you traditionalists and you baby boomers out there who are always talking about the welfare system. Y'all started it, not the millennials and Generation Z that seem to be using the system. The things that you chose to vote for or you did not choose to vote for, that's why policies and procedures are in place today. And listen, we're not playing the blame game. I'm not here to point the finger. But while we're talking about generational bias, we got to keep it real. And what I know is that my mother and I have open dialogue. Okay, guys, let me put some numbers out there. My mother was born in 1938. It is 2018. My mother will be 80 years old this year. I was born in 1985, which means what? I will be 33 years old this year. There's a 50-year difference almost between my mother and I, which means my mother is a traditionalist and I'm a millennial. So we should not agree on anything. But guess what? We agree. We agree. And the reason we agree on things is because she respects my opinion. She respects that times are changing. Now, just because you respect a person, it does not mean that you are in agreement with everything that they think and that they do. But what it means is when you respect, you really are showing who you are as a person. When you respect a person in spite of, you're showing your character. Think about it. When you display respect, and that's in any generation, and I teach my students this, because my students are quick to say, no, Miss Jones, she disrespected me. I said, well, how? Man, she came for me. She told me to put my phone up, and then when I ain't put my phone up, she called my grade out. Okay. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, that was very disrespectful. But I have to take my youthful hat off and understand I have to look at it from an educated standpoint, and I have to look at it from that young person standpoint. And to be honest, I would be pissed if I had a bad grade in class and my teacher were calling my grade out in front of all of my peers, all because I didn't put my cell phone up. Pick and choose your battles. One thing I've learned is that in the traditionalist generation, they are very rigid and autocratic. It's their way or the highway. Betty Lou, I know you probably not watching, but I know somebody will call you and tell you that I'm talking about you. Guys, yes. Growing up, my mother was autocratic. It was her way or the highway. My father was even worse because my dad was this orthodox, traditional Southern Baptist man, and it was just like the wages of sin is death. Y'all, I got so sick of hearing the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. Okay, Lord, take me, because I don't know if I can live up to this. But guess what? As I grew in my spirituality and as I grew into my own, I started to understand. When I gossip to you about the next person, I'm just as bad as somebody that's fornicating. That's right. But generational bias would have you to believe that just because I'm not cussing, drinking, or having sex outside of being married that I'm going to heaven anyhow. But I'm not preaching to y'all tonight because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about generational bias. So one of the stereotypes of traditionalists is that they're old-fashioned. Okay, I mean, I'm old-fashioned, granted, because y'all know I was raised by older parents, so I'm very old-fashioned. But let's talk about the baby boomers. So, Miss Baby Boomer, tell me a little bit about you, and I'm going to tell you what statistics say baby boomers are, but how would you describe the baby boomer generation?
We are more to the point of we follow things A, B, C, D. We don't like veering away from the way things are.
So you guys are similar to the traditional.
We're very similar because we as you said our parents were more, as you say, to do as I say. So that's how we came up. We came up, you just follow the instruction, you go along. Every now and then you would veer off, and, but you would always, the point is, we don't like change that much.
Okay.
We like things to be in familiar territory.
Okay. So you're not as flexible. Okay, you're not flexible. So you can adapt, but you really don't like to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you're selectively
We're
flexible.
selective with our adaptation.
Okay. Now, my data, and this came from the United States Department of Health and Human Services, and yes, I did this research on my own, so I need to help you understand. Because you know what? Let me just put this out there. Because there are a lot of people out there who fact check, and I want you to fact check. Mm-hmm. Please fact check. Because I hate to toot my own horn, but I would bet your bottom dollar that any information that you need on mental illness, any information that you need on education, any information that you need on human services, specifically relative to marriage and family, I'm your chick. But anyway, my data tells me that baby boomers are workaholics.
We are.
They're very competitive. They balance family and work. Mm-hmm. They desire respect. And success is visible. Which explains why so many baby boomers are in debt. And why so many millennials are born with debt. But I'm not gonna go there just yet. And they're optimistic. So baby boomers are optimistic versus traditionalists pretty much accept that this is the way things are. I'm gonna follow it the way it is because this is the way it is and this is the way it always has been. All right, let me say this, traditionalists. Those of you who are traditionalists out there, those of you who identify as traditionalists, those of you who possibly fit the mold. A lot of traditionalists leave this world in Alzheimer's. I'm speaking from experience. My father left this world in Alzheimer's. For 5 years, I watched this man go from being the most clean, distinguished, intelligent man to being incompetent, not wanting to bathe, just erratic. As a traditionalist, it is important for you to understand a couple of things for your own mental stability and emotional wellness. You have to understand that the ways of the past are no more. Morality will always be what it is. But morality also is what you make of it. And when I say that, I simply mean this. What we have to do is we have to find a common ground. We have to agree to disagree, but we have to disagree in love. Now, personally, I don't agree with everything that Donna stated about baby boomers because my opinion is that I identify with the baby boomer generation just because I was born to traditionalist parents. But I also understand that my traditionalist mother now acts more like a millennial than I do, which is gross because I hate hearing my mama say turn up and they was crunk and then she want to get in Walmart and act real hood, ratchet, rich. simply because somebody rolled a basket into her. And I'm just like, Mom, people packing pistols now, so I need you to get yourself together. You 80 years old. I ain't about to be out here fighting with you, because Betty Lewis about it. Betty Lewis about it. But you know, all jokes aside, what I want to do with generational bias is I want to make sure that this evening we give you a deeper understanding of why different age groups tend to think, feel, and act as they do. That's important to me. I had a couple of conversations with people all day long today that it tore me down emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, to the point where when I got off work today, I laid on my couch and slept for 2 hours. Because all I could think about was common ground. Common ground. You know, we have a lot going on in the world, you know, and it's bigger than just you or me. It's bigger than MBG. It's bigger than, you know, it's just bigger than everything. What we have to do is we're responsible ultimately for ourselves, but we're also responsible to make sure that collectively as a unit we're doing what we can for the environment. But I'm not going there. Now, these are some of the stereotypes that you'll find about baby boomers, okay? They're self-centered,
Not true.
unrealistic, political, and power-driven. Unrealistic, political, and power-driven. I'm going to say this. Go into the workplace. Tell me how many millennials are still in the workplace and are being submissive. But you tell me how many baby boomers are in the workplace and play go along to get along. They play the game of politics because they don't want massa to be mad at them. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to go there.
And that's the truth, because we're looking at the security of our future. You know, we're looking at our age. You know, we're not in a position to be starting all over again.
That's true.
Trying to have, you know, this, you know, but I think that we also are not to the point of that we're submissive, that we are allowing people to run over us and to make us feel like we have no voice, and that, you know, so I guess that's where our political, we're going to stand up for what's right and what's not right.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. So this is my generation. And, okay, no. Wait a minute. We got to talk about the Generation Xers. Now, the Generation Xers come in between the baby boomers and the millennials. And I gotta do this. Shout out to Laura Wheeler, which is Adam the editor's mama. Shout out to her. And I wish she would call in 804-915-5202. Adam, if you are listening, tell your mama to call. Because Mama the editor is real. And she is one of the Generation Xers. And that's that Forrest Gump generation. That's that Jenny. Y'all was smoking the weed and the psychedelic and all of that. Y'all were the hippies. And they those were the latchkey kids. That's the AIDS epidemic, the MTV. So that Generation X, those Xers came before the millennials. So y'all were kind of like early 70s to early 80s. So y'all had like a 10-year span. But now listen carefully. Because when I talk a little bit about the Generation Xers, it's going to kind of ease me into the millennials. Generation Xers, these are the values. They're independent, cynical, and pessimistic. They think globally. They're technologically literate and very informal. Now think about it. Those of you out there who are like in your mid to late 30s, early to mid 40s, y'all. And I know, and you know what? I know my brother for a fact. My brother, I would not call him a millennial. I think he's a Generation Xer. I think he is. And I know he watches, so that's why I can talk about him, because I know he watches. Shout out. But these are some of the stereotypes of Generation Xers. that they're slackers, they're selfish, they're impatient, and they're cynical. Guess what? I guarantee you already know where those stereotypes came from. Traditionalists. Mm-hmm. Let me tell y'all a little bit about this data. This data is compiled every 20 years. 9 times out of 10, the people that are doing the census and people that are compiling this data are more or less gonna be, at this point in time, baby boomers. So baby boomers already have a mindset of what? Political affiliation. They already have a mindset of structure. They believe in formality. So they've already decided what is right. So they're gonna stereotype everything else thereafter. Traditionalists did it to baby boomers. Baby boomers did it to Xers. But you know what's interesting though? Xers and millennials work together. So see, this is what I want you to understand. And I'm not throwing shade at traditionalists and baby boomers. But because you guys are so selfish and self-centered, y'all cannot work with anybody because it's your way or the highway. But if you look at it, millennials and Generation X's are working together because we understand that this is a global issue. It's not about me and my house. It's about us. Because if my townhouse burned down, yours gonna burn down too because we all connected in some way. Think about it. It's called practical application for the everyday mind. Okay. Now, millennials. I'm so excited. I'm a millennial. I was born in 1985. So these are some of the events that impacted millennials. The Oklahoma City bombing. Guess what? Bombing is still occurring now. 9/11, Columbine, the internet and technology. Now, this is the interesting thing. I didn't get my first cell phone until 9th grade. Babies got cell phones now. And you know what? I can't even front because I want my little nephew to have his own cell phone. And y'all, he only 15 months. I want him to have a cell phone just so I can be like, so I can discipline him though, y'all, because I want to discipline him. I feel like, look, I told his it's so interesting. This is a sidebar. But I was telling my sister-in-law today, I said, you know what? Let me have him for a week. Let me have him for a week. Like, I need him for a week. Oh, yeah, I just think he'll come back a different child. Just because I see the kids of today. And I tell him all the time, I be like, Tudor, you will not be hood rich. You will not be ratchet. Like, you got to speak affirmations. Speak affirmations to yourself. Speak affirmations to your kids. Speak affirmations overall. All right. So what's going to happen is we are getting ready to take a quick break. I want to entertain some of the Facebook Live comments. So when I come back, I'm going to entertain some of those comments. But when I come back, we're going to talk about millennials. We're going to talk about Generation X. And then I'm going to talk from my heart about what I feel we can do to more or less find a common ground. Because guess what? If we don't find a common ground, every generation is going to stay at odds with one another. And we can't have it because the reality is that we all need each other. Because guess what? Generation Z going to have to wipe the baby boomers behinds. And millennials are going to have to wipe the traditionalists behinds. Now, do you want a millennial to have to wipe your behind after you done talk junk and talk about them? I'm not trying to be mean, but that's why a whole lot of stuff is going on because people are not forgetting. And what you say will follow you. This, my mother told me this. Lil, that little red thing in your mouth will get you in the worlds of trouble one day. I'm just saying. But once again, I'm your girl, Lily Mae. This is MBG Speaks 101. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with you. Terrible tyranny of the majority, generational bias. This is MBG Speaks 101 Season 3, and we'll be back in a jiffy. Yeah! Y'all, once again, see, it's called sacrifice, and this is a living sacrifice. Welcome, MBG, to the building. You know what? It's all right. You ready? Because we're going to talk about the millennials. Hey, guys out there, if you have any questions or comments, please, guys, please feel free to,
And you remember these old school videos say they long, so whenever you ready to come back.
Okay, yeah, we're going to be right. So, yeah, oh my gosh, so it's real. So we can talk about the millennials and generations.
She just made the baby boomers feel like we ain't none.
But I don't want y'all to feel that way.
I'm just joking.
But my mom, but see, mom and I, and one thing I would say, my mother and I have these conversations, and it's just, it's real.
And I think a lot of it is because we have struggled so hard to get to where we are.
But the inflexibility comes from is just that the lessons that those who are from Baby
Right.
offer, there are those who listen.
Don't forget to share the live, everyone. Share the live. But Aaron, I know y'all.
Exactly.
Oh, you had to come in royal too, because you got to let
The
them
other
know.
ones in what's going on now, they a lot of people, the baby boomers don't understand that not in specifically, but in general, have made the laws and other things that affect it today.
Right.
So for what we have to do, the mistakes that the baby boomers have.
Exactly.
Go ahead, right there.
That
So you
doesn't
want
mean we ignore the lessons.
Right.
Go ahead.
And as soon as you find that balance, I think it would be a
Right, and that's the thing, is finding the balance. Is finding the balance and learning how to be able to bend towards there's another way.
Right, and a lot of older ones don't know another way. A lot of things could be better for a lot of people if they want to do the things right. Just because, and you do see a lot of older ones. I don't believe that you ever stop.
Right.
I mean, bro, right?
All right, well, guys, we are getting ready to come back. MBG is in the building, and I'm gonna let her bring us back in. We have talked about the traditionalists and the baby boomers, and oh no, it's like because now, oh yeah, we got to go tag team the baby boomers now.
I've been sharing on crazy from different groups and stuff.
Okay.
So, but I got to spend this out.
Alright, you good. Y'all ready? You ready to come back? Okay.
You got any water back here, bro? Any water back
Here you go. This one right here,
Oh, never mind.
cause I don't need it.
Thank you.
You coming here?
Oh, no, I'm right.
So hard today. Oh, new beginnings. Hallelujah. All right, guys, get ready to bring it back. Guys, and you know we're paying homage to Craig Mack, so I'm gonna let MBG do her Craig Mack spiel because you know it's coming.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hey.
Hey!
Okay, they doing it too. Hey!
Wait a minute, hold on. Baby boomer. Let's baby boomer. Wait a minute, hold on. All right, shout out to Generation Z.
MBG, Lily Mae, our special guest, Miss Donna.
Look at Diana Ross, y'all.
So we back talking about great old generational gaps. Sorry I missed the first half, had some things going on, but you know the universe works in mysterious ways.
Hey, y'all better get that chakra right. See, I'm taking it. I'm using that word.
But
That
yeah,
chakra.
my crystals and all that stuff. But yeah, so I don't know if you mentioned it in the beginning as far as Craig Mack.
I did say we're paying homage to Craig Mack, but definitely I want you to do you.
We paying homage to Craig Mack. If y'all are listening to our podcast, we did shout out Craig Mack. In addition to Stephen Hawking, they both passed away like a week or so now. And just want to point out there that men, especially African American men, please take care of yourselves, take care of your health. Craig Mack passed away from heart failure at the age of 46. That is not old, that is young. That is close to my brother's age. So I mean, I'm just saying.
He's a Generation Xer.
Yeah. So eat right. You know, it's alright to have the bacon, but don't have the bacon every day, all day. Okay, just space it out. So just take care of your health. That's what goes for anybody. We live here younger and younger, and so that's all I gotta say on that. But because I missed the first hand, so I'm gonna jump in when y'all talk about.
Okay, so Amber, we talked about traditionalists, baby boomers, and Generation Xers, and let me just give you the dates. Now, traditionalists are referenced as the silent generation and the maturers, and they were born between 1925 and 1945. Baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. And just take these dates lightly because they do tweak them a little depending on what you consult. Generation X, or the baby busters, were born from 1965 to 1981. Millennials, or Generation Y, were born from 1982 to 2000. And today's young people are the nexters, and they are Generation Z. And what they were trying to do, I noticed at one time, they tried to keep the generations between 12 to 20 years, like, 12 to 20 years of age in the generation, but whatever.
So basically, I'm not even, because originally they didn't have the generation.
Well, they did, I'm telling you, they did generation, once again, man, things get lost in translation. That's why I keep telling people, stop taking everything you read as face value. You know what I'm saying? We inform and then educate, but it's up to you to gain that knowledge. So Amber, let's talk about millennials. You tell me what you feel about millennials, and then let's give them some technical data.
Generation Y for real, but that's what we are.
Well, we are X, because it go X, Y, Z. The X's are like the psychedelic, Vietnam, then Y. We Y, and the new babies are Z.
I kind of relate to everybody because for me, my mom is a baby boomer. So I got a lot of tradition and all of that stuff. I tease her a lot because when I was growing up, she acted like she was holy. And then when you get older, you find out, oh, you was.
So you said the same thing I said, exactly. But see, if people really told the truth about who they were and where they come from, but you know what? If people really told the truth about who they were and where they come from, they couldn't put on these facades that they put on today. But we're not going to Amber.
I'm a baby boomer.
See, I was fine until you got here.
One of my parents and my uncles are baby boomers, so of course they grew up in segregation, seen a lot of things, witnessed a lot of things, went through a lot of things. And I have a brother who is Generation X, so a lot of the NWA introduction to rap, I got that part. So I got a lot of influence around me, and I just relate. We would call it an old soul because we just got so much. And of course, my grandmother would be, of course, traditionalist because she was born 1919. So.
Oh wow, yeah, my grandma was born 1918. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a lot. But as far as us millennials, what can we say about us? I don't know. Like, I think for us, because we're kind of like in the middle of everything and got so much influences from different generations. I think we're the balance. Like, we can understand.
Okay.
We can understand from, the next one, like, oh, mama said da-da-da-da-da. And, well, I get what your mama's saying. Look at it like this. Like, we're able to give a better perspective. That's us. Versus like, do what I say now, that's what I do type of thing. So, do as I say, not as I do. So, of course, the values, I guess, right between,
Well, no, because look, so, the data, because y'all know I am research oriented. The data says that these are millennial values. We are optimistic and confident. We are what?
Individualistic.
We're what?
Individualistic.
We're what?
Individualistic, yet group oriented.
So, what you're saying is, or what the United States Department of Health and Human Services is saying is that we believe in our own individuality. Just because we associate with the group doesn't mean that we're in the in crowd or in the group. You can be in the world, but not of the world.
You always bring descriptions up.
But you know, because the reality is that, and I'm telling y'all, I've been having these conversations a lot lately. And what's happening is we have to stop putting end all, be all on everything because it's causing too much strife and tension for us internally. And I don't know about you, but last week I was informed that I should have been taken off of blood pressure medicine 2 years ago.
Wow.
But I was told that because my mama had high blood pressure and my daddy had high blood pressure, that I was destined to have it. But I'm 200 pounds lighter than I was 10 years ago.
Well, I still be on it.
But see, if I were a traditionalist, I would have said, yes, sir, doctor, whatever you say, yes, sir. No, I said, I'm not taking it. And guess what? My mother, who is a traditionalist, she told her doctor just a few days ago, and y'all know how sick my mama was. She said, I'm not taking that mess. Because y'all just killing folk. Y'all killing folk. Y'all in these pharmaceutical companies. Not pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceutical companies. I was like, okay. All right, Mom. Whatever. But go ahead, Amber. Talk a little bit more about the millennials. And no, talk to them about the stereotypes.
Okay, well, again, that's some of the values, ambitious, yet aimless, diverse, all that good stuff. But one of the stereotypes is short attention span. Yes and no. I know some of the
That's just ADD. That's just ADD.
that could be that way, but I also know people, if you get them focused on something, they're going to be on it.
Yeah,
spoiled. I have been told that one too many times. I don't believe I'm spoiled. But if I like certain stuff and you have to give it to me, I mean, hey, I'm going to tell you no. But I don't believe I'm spoiled. That's just me. Disrespectful.
Can I repeat what I said earlier? Once again, what is respect? Because what you think is respect might not be what I think is respect.
Yeah. With another perspective.
And I'm gonna give you an example. Once again, I'm gonna give you an example from school. If a student, and it happened to me today, a student was like, "Hey, bro, what's the password for the test?" My response was, well, number one, I'm not your brother. But if you ask me another way, I'll answer your question. And yes, I did it just like that. Now, on the flip side, did I feel disrespected? No. Why? Because I understand that that's how this generation talks. What did I do? I corrected him. In the same way he came for me, I corrected him. And guess what he said? Excuse me, ma'am, can I have a password for the test? Now I could have said, that's not what you say. Don't be disrespecting me. But I didn't do that. Because guess what? When you're sure of who you are, you can't be disrespected. And Lily Mae is daggone sure of who she is. So nothing you say, do, try to emulate, try to incite in me is going to affect me. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Now, Amber, we got to talk about Generation Z. And I didn't pull any data on Generation Z. And the reason I didn't pull any data on Generation Z is because I got a bias about Generation Z. And now the statistics say the Generation Z starts in 2000, 2001. I am going to go back and I'm going to say that my data that I'm going to research myself, I'm going to go back to about 93, 94 and say that that's Generation Z, this generation. Because Generation Z is quick to blame and point the finger at other people for their failure to be accountable.
I can agree with that.
And the reality is that a couple of days ago, I had a conversation with somebody very, very near and dear to me who could not understand why their actions in the workplace weren't conducive to the workplace. Because to Generation Zers, the world revolves around me, which guess what? History repeats itself because traditionalists are the same way. To Generation Zers, it's my way or the highway. Well, wait a minute. That's the same thing as a traditionalist. So see, the reason traditionalists are so upset with these generations that are coming is because you're seeing the era of your ways all over again. And what has happened is traditionalists, Generation Z are now the traditionalists just of the 21st century. Y'all created your own past. If you look at the dropout rate of traditionalists and you look at the dropout rate of kids of today, I guarantee you it's not going to be much of a difference. The difference is, back then, traditionalists dropped out of school to work on farms and in the cotton fields. But today, Generation Zers are dropping out of school to work in the streets. Now, whether it's right or it's wrong, I'm not touching that. Because I have no heaven or hell to put nobody in. I'm not the judge or the jury. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is this. History repeats itself. And if you separate yourself from yourself, you will begin to understand that the reason that you have such great generational bias is because you realize the error of your own ways. And in realizing the error of your own ways, you have finally figured out what you did wrong. And because you're at a point where you can't fix it, it hurts. It really hurts. Trust me. I have made it to 32 and a half. Amber has made it to 33. And 34. 34. I keep 34.
54?
And
Don't mention that.
I know that the reason that I treat the kids the way I treat them is because I know the things that I did when I was in middle and high school that I don't want them to do. I tell the students all the time, the difference between y'all skipping today and us skipping is y'all skip class and sit in the bathroom. And I asked the kid one day, I said, you know, people come in the bathroom and do number 2 and you sit in there? Ugh. They said, oh no, we just go to another bathroom. Wow.
Shall we used to leave?
We used to leave. Y'all know I shout out Danville all the time. I used to drive to Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Why would you skip school and stay in the school? And wait a minute, don't take it out of context. In Rico County, I'm not telling kids how to skip school and telling them to skip school because y'all already know people will twist your words. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about this to teach you this. Stop trying to hide who you are and what you are, and be who you are and teach people the right way.
Absolutely.
Stop pointing the finger and blaming people for what they don't know. Because what you think people know, they might not know. If I thought that every child knew what old school respect was, I would be a fool. But the reality is that my students every day teach me how to be a better person. They have taught me how to be less judgmental. They have taught me how to be more open-minded. They have also taught me how to take better care of myself. Because if I go to work sick, those kids will look at me and say, Miss Jones, you don't look right. I don't feel well, baby, but I'm here. Why? Because I have a responsibility to you. And you know what their response is? Responsibility to me. Miss Jones, you sick. You supposed to be at home in bed because if you get me sick, I'm not coming to school. It's funny, but it's real. Those babies teach me to take better care of myself. Because they concerned about me being sick. Because they don't want to get sick. They using more common sense than me. So I'm saying this, and like I said, guys, as we begin to close out, because Amber J, I want you to, talk a little bit about how you feel about generational bias. But what I'm saying is this. Stop blaming and pointing the finger at different generations. I don't blame my parents for their value systems. Just like I know my parents don't blame me for what I believe. Hell, my mom tells me all the time, Lily Mae gonna do what Lily Mae wanna do. And she had walked to the beat of this drum since she was born into this world. And I have. And my brother, who is 5 years older than me, will tell you the same thing. I bossed him. And still try to boss him, but he got a wife. But I say that to say this. Relationships would be so much better if we do less of this and more of this. But beyond that, do more of this.
Yes.
Just because I embrace you. And you know, Amber, do you mind if I go on you for a minute? Amber is spiritual. I am spiritual and religious, being that I have a relationship with God. I believe wholeheartedly in God. But I'm not a religious or radical fundamentalist who believes that the wages of sin is death means that if I say the F word right now, I'm going to drop dead. I got common sense to know that that's not what that means. But what I can do is I can have a conversation with Amber about, like I joke about the chakras, but I understand. And you know why I understand? Because I'm honest about who I am and who I came from. See, I can openly tell you that I am the descendant of one of the most well-known prominent group doctors on the East Coast. And I say that openly and freely because for a long time, my dad, and one thing about y'all know about me is I'm going to talk about my family because I don't have anything to hide. I'm proud of who I am and where I come from. My father did not want us to really know about it. But when he got sick and started going out of his mind with Alzheimer's, it started to come out. And so it forced me to learn about my heritage. And it forced me to learn about the spiritual nature of my family. So what I decided was that I'm not going to practice this stuff. Because my great-grandma, Miss Page, did some crazy stuff, y'all. She did some crazy stuff. And the reality is that there's a store on Cary Street. And the lady knew my great-grandmother. And when she looked at me, she backed up. And I don't know what that was all about. She must have saw something. I asked Amber if she could tap into it and tell me what's going on because I'm scared. I'll mess with it. But although that's not my thing, I accept that that's my sister's thing. And when she comes to me and tell me what she feel and what she see, I'm going to listen because guess what? My heart tells me that my great-grandmother might be communicating with her because she knows that I'm not really receptive to what she might be trying to tell me. And believe it or not, I have peace with being Lily Mae, the descendant of Miss Page, who was a root doctor. And I'm done for the night. Amber, take it out.
Well, Miss MBG, I think I said step into it.
Oh no, but we got about 2-3 more minutes.
Right.
You know, we just talk about what's going on.
Of course, we got the podcast that airs every Saturday on Spreaker. If you don't have the app, download Spreaker. That's speaker with an R. And we're finishing out our March segment of Women's History Month. Getting into it, really hot. Heavy, actually.
Yeah.
And also take a few minutes to listen back to our January, which we diagnosed in and February. Yeah. What was February? Besides Black History Month.
Revisiting old friends.
Revisiting old friends.
Yeah, we talked about old
topics.
topics.
Tackling topics that we did discuss on the show with a different twist and everything.
Oh, please let everybody know how they can. Lord, we could tell you we get together. We get find. Please tell everybody how they can find you on social media. Donna Banks Tucker.
Donna Banks Tucker on all my social media handles are on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram.
Okay.
And the moral story is of this whole show, and for y'all been listening and watching, is just understanding. It's cool to have your restrictions and like, oh, I can't tolerate that. I'm a no-nonsense person. That's cool, but have a better understanding because not everybody is going to think or operate the same way as you. Just saying.
Oh, my 50, my
So
50.
just be more understanding of where people are coming from, because they may need your advice, and watch your approach, because the next is, and you may not be feeling what
They coming for you.
yeah, may not be feeling what the traditionalists may bring, but maybe feeling what the millennials may bring, and get a better understanding. Like I said, it's just a better understanding, open eyes, open the ears, and just be more receptive instead of being like, oh, they got their pants sagging. I'm not gonna talk to them. We just address where it came from. There's nothing wrong with giving a little history where it's sagging.
But do it in love.
Right.
Do it in love.
Right.
Do it
That's
in
what
love.
I'm saying.
Wow.
Just do it in love.
MBG Speaks 101 Season 3. We out. We love you guys. We'll be back next week, same time, same network. Peace and love, everyone.
All right.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. I want to make sure that I shout out everybody on Facebook Live. Thank you for watching. It's been real. We will upload everything to YouTube, so make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's Motivational Brown Girls on YouTube with the Y and Z. Subscribe to the channel so that you can get all of our podcasts and videos. And we'll talk to you next week.